Hi, Steve Porter. I'm going to start the awards presentations tonight. And I'm going to start with the Overcoming Obstacle Award. Chris Bolin, our past president, is the selection committee for this award. She's not able to attend tonight, so I will take the honors of presenting Abby Schmitt from Frankenmuth with the Overcoming Obstacle Award. We'd like to show her video first, and then she'll come forward and receive the Overcoming Obstacle Award. So if show the video.
I'm Mike Snyder. It's my 5th year of coaching cross country at Frankenmuth, boys and girls. And this is Coach Fred Fitch, and he joined me 4 years ago. And that's when Abby started.
Rob Hayes came up to me and he's like, well, you know, Hannah's running cross country and practice starts tomorrow. I'm like, oh, that's nice. He's like, well, I'll have her pick you up. You should try it out tomorrow morning. Coach is great. Running's really fun. You should try it. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'll go tomorrow morning.
Right away, we could tell that she was going to be a hard worker, and she looked like she really enjoyed running.
And so I started out and I really fell in love with it. It was probably one of the best decisions I made over my high school career. After the first meet in Birch Run that I started feeling pain.
It did get so bad that we, looked into it.
Finding out after it was an avulsion fracture, the avulsion fracture tears the bone off with the muscle, so the stretching didn't help at all. It made it a lot worse.
She couldn't, finish out cross country. She missed, I think, the last race.
I don't know, a couple weeks later it was states. So it was at the International Speedway, so we went down there and I was on crutches and I think just another girl was. And so we were crutching everywhere.
Well, she went quite a while, not able to participate in any sports. Couldn't do track, still it hadn't healed. And then the following year she got the okay to start training and play basketball.
I love basketball, so I was so psyched to go out and play.
Very last game of the season, she was feeling great about playing. We had seen her go up for a layup and she got knocked right in the side of the face on a rebound.
I jumped up for a rebound. All of a sudden, someone's elbow came down and hit my head back. I'm like, okay. I couldn't see for a little bit. I couldn't hear at all. I was really dizzy, kind of blacked out a little bit. And then I was fouled, so I went up to do my free throw, did my free throw, and I made it. So I was like, oh wow, okay, so I must be okay to keep playing. So I did. And then I felt my jaw was out of whack. It was like all mixed up. I'm like, okay, that hurts a lot. And so we went to Med Express. They checked out my jaw and they're like, yeah, I think you're okay, but you might want to get it checked by your dentist. So we got it checked by my dentist and it was a hairline fracture.
Then we followed up with an ear, nose, and throat specialist and found out that she had damage to her inner ear.
And I started having bad headaches and I was kind of dizzy and everything.
So our family doctor recommended that we go see a neurologist and found out that she had suffered a mild concussion. Continued having headaches and dizziness. So the neurologist ordered an MRA to be done because he suspected that she had a dissected artery.
He said, keep your movements very still, don't turn your head fast, don't do anything.
They did the MRA. It was misread by the radiologist as a positive dissection, which we then later found out that it wasn't. But he, in thinking that it was a dissected artery, prescribed medication that should not have been prescribed at a dose that was not approved for her.
When we were eating dinner, I got up to go put my plate down and all of a sudden I felt this really sharp pain in my leg. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I was like, that is not normal, and it was hurting so bad I had to lay down on the floor, and I was laying on the floor and I was crying, and it felt like it was going down my leg and it was in my foot and it was coming up my foot and then it was in my knee. It felt like my leg was dying.
She described it as a dead leg. She felt like her leg was dying And by the time we got to emergency, she said it felt like it was dead.
So that first night that I was in there, my heart rate plummeted and my blood pressure plummeted, and I was not very conscious at that point.
The injury was in early February, and then she had 2 months of headaches and dizziness and issues related to the head trauma, and then the medication was prescribed to her the first week of April.
It got really bad when what happened in my right leg happened in my left leg. So at that point, it was like, okay, both my legs are duds, so I can't use either of them. And it ended up going from my legs to my hands, so my hands were in fists. I couldn't write, I couldn't paint, I couldn't play piano. I could barely eat. I had to stick the silverware in my fingers, and I had to pick up my cup like this and everything. And I was a mess. And then going to school was ridiculous because when my hands were bad, but I could still hold on to the crutches, so I could kind of wobble down the hallway. But doing homework was impossible because I couldn't write.
Well, she ended up in a wheelchair because we couldn't carry her everywhere, so we finally had to get a wheelchair for her. And so she was at that point willing then to start going back to school, and friends would, push her because she didn't have a whole lot of control at first over that, but then she was able to kind of get used to it and wheeled herself around.
Getting into the wheelchair was very interesting. I had to crawl up 4 or 5 of our stairs that go upstairs and sit down, and then my mom or dad would sit down in a couple stairs in front of me, and I would hug onto their back, and they would carry me out to the car, and I'd sit in the car, and then from the car I would lift up and slide myself over into the wheelchair.
Abby, as she was going through this ordeal, I remember Lori and I were at Da Vinci's restaurant, and her family was sitting there. Abby was in a wheelchair, and we went up to talk to her, and Abby would mention she's going to run cross country again, and we basically said yes you are, and we're waiting for you to come back.
We were referred to a chiropractor in Saginaw, and to be honest, I was very leery because we had been to every specialist possible, and everyone just kept saying it was, let's wait and see, and hopefully she'll be able to walk again.
And we went in there, and it's the deep tissue therapy, so it hurt like none other.
Very painful.
It was horribly painful. It was painful to watch her go through it.
And it was past the time that he closed, and he stayed after to get all that he thought needed to be done.
And at the end of the time, probably about an hour and a half, he said, okay, go ahead and stand up.
We're like, I can't stand up. Remember, I'm in the wheelchair over there.
And she stood up.
I got up, and as wobbly as it was, I think it still counts it. I stood there for like 2 seconds. I'm like, I haven't been able to do that in how long? I was on my feet, putting all my weight on my feet, and I was there for a few seconds, and I'm like, okay, well, this guy he's gonna get me back walking again. And sure enough, he did. It's cross country again, so I was so happy that I was physically able to run and do the workout and not have to be like, okay, well, my side's hurting or I can't walk. I was able to actually do the workouts and run.
We have a cross-country meet that takes place in Bath, Michigan, near Lansing.
Within the first probably quarter mile to half mile of the race, there was a girl that was down.
Abby stayed there and took care of that athlete until someone else came and took care of her.
That's the kind of runner and person that Abby is. And she set a personal record that day also.
Coach Snyder, how phenomenal he was. He wasn't just a coach. He cared for her and reached out to her.
Without God, most of all, and my family and Dr. Flora and Isla and Coach, I don't know how I would have been able to get through this at all.
We would love to have a whole team of Abbies and that's, we've talked about that a lot too. People with her dedication, her spirit, her friendliness. That's what our cross-country team, and I know a lot of other cross-country teams, are all about. It's a family. It's not just a team.
I'm doing the indoor track workouts now, so it's getting me pretty psyched for the track season. I'm very excited for that.
Abby, thank you for sharing that amazing story with us. I'd like to present you with our Overcoming Obstacle Award. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, MITCA, for recognizing me with this award. I'd also like to thank Coach Snyder and his wife, my parents, and God and Dr. Flora. You guys have been so amazing, and you never gave up on me. And this award represents all that I've gone through and all that I've overcome. And it shows me that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I know that now I can go out there and do anything that I set my mind to. And without God, I know I wouldn't be here today to accept this. And I am, and I'm very humbled that I am able to do that today. Thank you.
Dave Lisket will now make the Coach of the Year presentations. When the coaches are presented with their award.
I'd like to have our Division III girls coaches come up. We have Mary Plude of Charlevoix, Pete Norman of Napoleon, Scott Werner of Pewamo, Westphalia, and Mike Snyder of Frankenmuth. And for our Division III Girls Coach of the Year, this coach has 12 years coaching experience, 3 years their current position as track and field head coach, and also have the trifecta of winning the MITCA team state meet, their regional champions, and the MHSAA state champions. That's Mike Snyder of Frankenmuth.